So welcome Magda, and congratulations on getting into the final 12, which is a great achievement. And we, as I think we told you, you've got 5 minutes to do a presentation and then there'll be a Q&A. I'm going to start by introducing the panel. So my name is Henry Lusengo. We've met and founder and CEO of Promoting Economic Pluralism. We set up the festival. And Parmjeet, who you might know as well. We can't hear you. You're
sorry. I'm Parmjeet Nahil. I'm a mentor in the Festival for Change. I've got a career in projects that look at health inequalities, and I've done lots of associated research. So I'm very interested in resilient communities.
And Beatrice?
Thank you for participating in the meeting. I'm an economist as a background, and I'm currently an executive advisor in one institute of the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation in Brazil.
Brilliant. So Magda, over to you. Maybe introduce yourself first and then tell us about your project.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Magda. I am 19 years old. I live in Mexico. And this project came to me as an inspiration because right now the crisis of gender violence in Mexico is very present, and the pandemic itself hasn't helped since many women are trapped at home with their abusers. So hearing about all these cases and all these women who have been abused just didn't sit right with me, and I thought I should do something to try and help anyone in any way I can. So I'm gonna start sharing my, my screen. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so excuse my computer is kind of slow. So I'll start the presentation now. And well, my project is named Micha y Micha. I work for two. Micha y Micha means in Spanish half and half. Is a friendly way of saying I do have the work, you do the other half of the work, in just like a friendly manner. So yeah, here's my little presentation card I did. My name is Magda. I am a biology student at Arkansas State University, and I'm 19 years old and I live in Hermosillo, Sonora. So what is happening right now in Mexico? Why am I doing this proposal, this project? Well, here you can see 3 girls, beautiful girls, right? All these girls have been murdered in the times of the coronavirus pandemic. Here you can see that the 7-year-old girl, it's Noemi, on May 28th, she was found dead in a property in San Luis Rio, Colorado. Her situation of death is still unknown, but they know who the killer was. Then we have Ambar Dolores, 20 years old. She was a model, and a student, an athlete, and she was found dead in her apartment on May 30th of this year with chemical burns on her face and body. She was strangled to death. And then we have Karina Morioki of 24 years old. She was asphyxiated inside her apartment on June 30th. The alleged killer is her ex-partner. So she was the 3rd femicide that happened during the pandemic. These are the cases that are most recent and that are also solved, because right now there are many cases of murders that happen in unknown circumstances, which are very obvious femicides, but the police are just unable to pin the murder to anyone in particular. So, well, that's just Sonora, right? What about the rest of Mexico? Well, 112 femicides happened in Sonora last year, but at the national level, we have a total of 1,010 femicides that were registered last year, which is an increasing number compared to 2018, that had 913 cases. This means that in 2019, up to 3 women were murdered every day. That's the average that I calculated. So what has been the response to this from the Mexican people? Well, as you can see, there have been many protests that have been both peaceful and some that are not very peaceful due to the retaliation of the police. And here you can see what happened in Hermosillo last year during one of the many feminist protests. This is the power of attorney that is in Hermosillo. It was vandalized by a group of feminist protesters. And this was one of the buildings that had the most damage. The other was the cathedral of the city. So what is Micha y Micha? Like, what am I planning to do with this? Well, this is a project based in Hermosillo, here in my hometown. It plans to address the femicide, sexual harassment on the street, different parts of the city, and the indifference to gender violence that the Mexican people have. So with the use of media, which would be mostly on social media platforms, probably if I can get in contact with the right people here, probably put some banners in the streets, in the bus stops, you know, they have little publicity boards. Maybe we could put some posters on there that what I'm going to post and what I'm going to show to the public are dramatizations, like dramatic pictures, dramatic videos that depict these scenes of violence, of abuse, and hopefully raise awareness and encourage people to reflect on their harmful behaviors. So yes, how will this help? How will putting up posters and posts on social media help? Well, there is something that the feminist groups all over Mexico have been doing, and they are depriving themselves of helpful and unlikely allies. I don't know if I'm coming through with this. I'm going to explain it in a little bit. But what I'm trying to handle here is the approach. The project will address the issue using the narrative of it's you and I against a problem, not against each other. It's not women against men. It's the people against a problem, against this violence, not against each other. So what I was talking about with unlikely allies is that by destroying all these buildings, attacking the churches, you attack people's personal space. You know, the principal of attorney was the workplace of many people who were unemployed due to the lack of establishment where to work. And when you attack the churches, you attack a person's sacred place. Like a church is the house of God, and many people see it as an attack on their faith, and not on the oppressing that the church has made onto women. So to appeal to the general public, the project is going to have this question of, it's going to depict these scenes, these horrid scenes, these vile scenes of women murdered, strangled, violated. Of course, it's not going to be very graphic, but it's going to come through with the idea. So it's going to have the question, do you want this to be Mexico? Do you want this to be what's Mexico known for? The violence of women, the drug cartels, all this violence? Or another variation of that would be, do you want this to happen to your daughter, mother, wife, or sister? Which is maybe, this is for people to care, because maybe an older man, like some grandparents, people with different ideologies, people who aren't very educated on the issue, will say, well, it hasn't happened to my family. It doesn't happen here in my social circles, so it's not a problem. Why should I care? Well, this happened to this person, and do you want this horrible thing to happen to your social circle, to your daughter, your mother, your sister, your wife? And this would put a perspective into their mind, like, oh, well, this could happen to me as well. But no, I don't want this to happen to any one of my family. So yeah, maybe I should do little changes in my behavior towards other women, not only the ones that I care for. So that is what I'm trying to do. So then if all of these people, the whole Mexican public are allies in a certain way, because of course nobody wants horrible things to happen to their loved ones, then who is the enemy? Well, the enemy itself is all of the situations. People who drug girls at parties to violate them. People who share intimate photos of girls with or without their consent on social media. People who harass women in the street. And of course, the cartels, people who use women for sex work, people who kill women just because they're women or because of jealousy or other issues that are not per se, well, no murder is justifiable, but these people are being killed just because of their existence, and that's just unacceptable. But I understand that my project will not change the misogynistic view of Mexico, because that's ingrained into our culture, sorry. It plans to change small behaviors. If you see that in a poster that sharing pictures of your ex-girlfriend on social media, like intimate pictures, it's an abuse to her, it's an aggression to her, maybe you would reflect on yourself before doing so. Like, oh, well, that's not cool, that's not okay, that's not correct. So maybe I should change what I do. Or maybe
You've had a bit more than 5 minutes, by the way.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Should I continue?
Well, can you wind up maybe?
Oh, yeah, of course. So here's the plan of action. I would do a network with people who are interested as volunteers, would brainstorm ideas to bring these dramatizations to life. In the phase of plot and theme, we would actually record and take pictures depicting these scenes. And in the part of speaking up, we would, you know, put it out to the public. And here I have some people who might help me. These are feminist collectives, feminist groups. One is Marea Verde or Green Tide, and the other one is Flores con Espinas or Flowers with Thorns. And these two groups have heavy social media influence here in Hermosillo and in Mexico. And I can approach them and present the project, and maybe they can help me posting the pictures on their pages. So, and a heavy social media presence is, as a group, is very crucial to the project. I'm never gonna give my face on this project because women who speak up about their abuse here in Mexico are hunted down by cartels and the such, and send death threats, and no actual violence has happened against these women, but if we can go around problems, I prefer to do so by not giving out my face. And right now, what you're seeing is my team of collaborators in this project. These are my friends who are in this project. All of them are photographers. They know how to work around the camera. So I'm going to use their help to put out these pictures and dramatizations. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Magda. Maybe Beatrice, you could start.
Magda, this is really an important problem. COVID-19, I believe that increased the numbers regarding violence against women due to isolation and quarantine and so on. Do you have any numbers on 2020? So just to compare, if the COVID-19 increased for somehow or is correlated somehow to higher violence records. Another question is that your project is only to your community, Sonora. You don't have the intention to expand to other communities. And do you have any person on your team to also provide guidance on communication strategies or psychology or public health? And if in Mexico there is any public health policy regarding violence against women in place?
Okay, that's 4 questions. Did you get those all, Magda?
Yeah, the first one was about how the numbers of 2020. So right now there aren't many on very reliable information sources. There are just local newspapers who have been known to alter information to cover up certain cases, certain numbers. And so I didn't include any numbers from 2020 because most of these are just in local newspapers and they're most of the time not very reliable sources of information when it comes to certain things that make the state look bad. You know, the police force that aren't getting ahead on any of these cases, so they publish that there are many less than they actually are, and that's part of what the feminist protests are about, to show the actual numbers on the newspapers, on the news, so people can see. The second question about if I have anyone else on my team to manage communications, and I do. So my mother worked with the part of the government here in my community who are in charge of tourism. They have a lot of influence with local news chains, local newspapers, local, you know, anything with publicity. And I have a friend over there. She was an intern when my mother was working there, and we became friends. So I could ask for her help. And I am also working with Tom Griffiths from the festival, the mentor, and he knows about communications and the sorts. So I will also be using his help. What were the other two? I'm sorry.
One of them is if there is any policy in Mexico addressing violence against women. And
Yes.
if you're just focusing on your community and not to have an impact on Mexico in general.
Okay, so there are policies that protect women. And in many cases, for example, in divorce cases, the children are always favored for the wife or the sorts. The mother has a lot of, single mothers have many rights here in Mexico. They have lots of help from the government. But recently, there have only been a couple of laws specifically for gender violence in Mexico allowed. For example, we have Ley Olimpia law, which protects women whose pictures, whose intimate pictures have been leaked to the internet. So whoever leaked them actually receives a penalty for doing so. And there have also been, oh, this is more common, Amber Alert. You know, Amber Alert, I don't know if you have it in where you live, but when a child goes missing, this alert is emitted to all police stations all over the country. It's in all the country. And they put themselves in this sort of search mode. So all the police stations, all the police departments are looking for this lost child. And that is because of a girl who was kidnapped and a whole story. So many of the laws, they are some that are in the working, but only these two have been actually implemented and acted on. Sadly, only these two. And on expanding my project, yes, I really want this to be a whole thing in Mexico, to have the whole country involved. Luckily, I have friends from Guadalajara, Ciudad de Mexico, who are also interested in helping with the project. But right now, I would like to start here, where I know personally many people who have been suffering of this kind of violence, and I would like to share their stories through this media. And well, I would like to start here. And when I have a good foundation here where I live, I want to expand it to other parts of the country. So yeah. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, you did.
So anyone else?
Namjit, would you like to, Parmjit, would you like to ask a question? Sorry.
Wow. it's just wow. I'm blown away by the whole way that you're approaching this. It's something that's obviously close to your heart, that you've got personal links with, yet it's something that you can influence many people with the ripples that are started. So you mentioned two things that have changed with policy. What are the things that the organisations that you mentioned, what are the areas that they're tackling, and what are the areas that maybe are left then?
Okay,
See what I
so
mean?
the organizations I showed you, the collectives, the feminist collectives, all tackle mostly right now they are fighting for abortion rights, for women to be able to have safe abortions in hospitals performed by professionals, to prevent clandestine abortions and the death rate of women who have these abortions. So in hopes of lowering it, sorry. So that's the main fight right now. But I would like to introduce other focuses to the fight. That's very head on. It's very, we want this change right now. And many people are on the defense of that because, well, it goes against their religion and they have other reasons to, it's a debate. And it's a debate that sadly it's gonna go from here on to a lot of years. Yeah. But I want to find a common ground. Yes. Hopefully I will approach these collectives with the idea, okay, it's good that we are fighting, but we need to make people...
Yes, I love that you're trying to tackle the duality of the situation, the goodies and the baddies, and just waiting until somebody's murdered. It's like, let's try and tackle it. So, for example, the police, that's one area in England where people have been training up the way that police force teams would handle violence cases, and involving police officers who have experience of it and training them up and so on. Is that something that...
Sadly, no. No, here the police receive training for dealing with drug cartels, not...
Yeah, they have a lot on their plate.
Yeah, and that's very ingrained into this problem because the cartels are the one that involve young girls against their will, in many of the cases, into sex work. For oh, if you do this, you're gonna give your family money and you're gonna be able to eat, and because they tackle people who have sadly not very much education when it comes to how they could handle their finances in order to get ahead. It's horrible. Okay. So right now I'm not trying to tackle per se that area because it's gonna be super hard. Yeah. Because it would be a war on the drug lords, and I'm very scared. That's why I'm not gonna show my face in anything. Nothing's gonna have my name. Nothing. I'm gonna use these groups to help me, but I'm not gonna show anything. So
yeah, it's a big thing that you're taking on, and all kudos to you. There's only a certain level that you can compare kind of approaches in the West to what's happening in Mexico, because it's such a different kind of thing. And the other thing is that you could look at the organisation called Nonviolent Communication, in terms of providing material around communication and how kind of mediation can take place. That may be something that could be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I might ask a question. I'm trying to think what sort of behaviour could change as a result of your campaign, in that presumably the men who are being violent are not probably going to be affected by a campaign like this. I mean, but I just wondered is it other players? What, I mean, if you're appealing obviously to grandparents or different other people and different who presumably aren't murderers or whatever, what do you expect they will do differently as a result of reframing the problem, if you like?
Yeah, well, most of these, the goal is to appeal to mostly the younger generations. They are more influenced by what they see on the media, on different parts like banners on the city and whatnot. But I have not proof per se, but many of my guy friends and many people on the internet have said, oh, when the feminist group started saying that this behavior was abusive, I checked on myself and I reflected, and I don't do that because I don't want women to be afraid of me or to resent me, or it's gonna be of do you want to be feared approach towards men? Do you want this to be what girls experience when they are with you? For example, here many men don't see as a bad thing to drug a girl, put something on her drink, to have relations with her. And that is of course very wrong. And hopefully this kind of behavior will be like, well, you don't need to do that. Like, just look for someone who is interested in you. It's, you know, you don't need to abuse someone to have relations with them. And those kinds of behaviors, I've been told by many people on the internet, because I've been talking and on Twitter and different parts that I put a question. Sorry I didn't include it in the presentation. I put up a question. Have the feminist protests have done anything to change your misogynistic behaviors? And many men were like, well, yeah, I don't have a group chat anymore where I share pictures of various girls who send me nude photos. I don't know, I no longer talk about women like this. I no longer do that. So it's not gonna be a radical change. I am aware of that. I'm not gonna prevent the incredibly high murder and rape rates here in Mexico. I know that. But any small impact that I can make, even if it's, oh, I'm not gonna talk about a girl like that, or I'm not gonna share this picture to my friend group, or I'm not gonna put this in her drink, that is enough. That's all I want, to prevent at least one girl from being either harassed on the street, or that is the main focus of this that I missed, sorry. It's the harassment on the street, you know, catcalling.
I wonder whether, because the way you present it is you start and obviously horrify people with the murders, which is obviously, you know, very dramatic and catches attention and makes you, you know, look up. But I wonder whether you should have more information on the other sorts of behaviors. Okay. So, because in a way, your solution maybe down the track, as you make other sorts of behaviors more and more unacceptable, you begin to isolate the people, the murderers, and presumably there are family members, there are people who may know or may be aware and would hand them over in a different context, possibly. You know, why aren't these people finding out about these? But I think thinking about how, you know, what you're doing and how that it's a graduate knock on, and the probably the murder rate is going to be the one of the last things that might change. But you can see the sort of the change process. But that might be make it more sort of understandable and convincing how your strategy relates to what you're trying to do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I should have started with, you know, the little behaviors that this campaign is going to tackle. But I just wanted to paint a picture of what is, in general, what's worrying, and the little things that can, I had it in a little slide, but I didn't quite explain it very well. The little things that are building up towards a femicide, towards a rape, towards a kidnapping. Yeah. And I will make sure, because independent from the festival, from this as a proposal, I'm actually planning to take this into the next level to actually make this happen, to make at least one poster, at least one post on social media about this. And I really thank you for your insight, Henry. I didn't think I should put that into too much emphasis, the little things, but now I see that
Well,
that
I
kind of
think
tackle it.
it's well as I mean, you know, not to obviously always say that you should do the same as Britain, but you know, there was a big movement around everyday feminism, you know, everyday sexism, and trying to tackle that. And I think, you know, looking at different models, because obviously around the world, this violence against women and all these sort of behaviours has been tackled, you know, in a lot of other places in different ways. And so, I mean, I was wondering actually what you had learned from what you had tried to take from examples around the world.
Okay, so yeah.
Can I compliment? We had here in Brazil some years ago a communication campaign in one of the governmental channels that asked everyone on the street, where do you hide your racism? And this increased the awareness of people who believe they are not racist, because everybody stopped to think about racism. So there might be several other campaigns that around the world about sexism or problems that are comparable, and then you can have a kind of a benchmark and use them as a learning process also.
And you could pilot. I mean, actually, the great thing about social media, of course, is that it's very easy to see what sort of reaction you get from different types of, you know, how much attention you get, how much from different approaches to the problem. So you may want to, rather than, you know, saying Micha y Micha is the answer, if you like, that I suppose you could have a number of slogans that go with it, but you actually trial it out and see what actual response you get to it, especially if you're using social media. Rather, you know, experimentation is key.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there's a lot of scope for a lot of different approaches, and like Henry says, you just use lots of different things, but the main thing is that everybody is committed to the cause and that it's open, and whatever skills and ideas people have, you can co-create many different kind of things and many different messages. And I do think that if you keep repeating drug drinks, don't post pornographic pictures, I think that does start to filter through the culture and make a difference. And you know, sometimes people just need to be told, no, don't do it, very, very clearly, even though it's very obvious. But people just need to be told that very clearly in lots of different ways from lots of different people around them.
It's also creating sort of like, you know, do you poison people?
Yeah. Oh.
You know, no one would poison someone. You know, that's clearly wrong. And then, you know, do you poison people? Well, if you put a drug in someone's drink, you are poisoning them. You know, anyway, I think there's lots of, you know, lots of possibilities. But thank you very much, Magda. We've run out of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's great, you know, inspiring what you're doing. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Good
You
luck
too.
with it.
Good luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you.